You won't believe what happened to EMB Records. From the glory of a multi-million empire to a heartbreaking collapse that shocked the entire nation.
And yeah, it's finally time.
Behind the smiles, behind the praise songs, and behind the fame, there were tears, control, manipulation, betrayal, and chaos.
The first backlash ya Bahati na mafans ilisababishwa na mimi.
They blamed Diana Bahati. They accused her of pulling the strings.
There's something I want to share with you guys.
But you can share with me before.
Controlling everything. Artist cried fall.
Kama David Wanda, ungependa kuwork naye tena?
Siwezi sema naweza taka kuwork naye tena.
Careers crumbled, friendships shattered, and then boom, the empire collapsed overnight.
Hizo ndo zilikuwa sababu kubwa sana za kutoka kwenye EMB Records.
Artists gone, stories contradicting each other.
But kama kuna mtu najua God alimaliza mwenyewe.
Peter Blessing was arrested. David Wanda and Mr. Seed walked away, each one carrying a painful truth, and what many called heaven of music turned into hell itself.
Akasema kwamba producer Paulo, yeye na marafiki zake ambao wamefanya kazi na Paulo kitambo, ndo walichanga kabisa venye inawezekana wakamtoa producer Paulo, venye alikuwa ameshikwa na Bahati. You understand? Paulo hakulala kwenye hiyo cell, alitolewa na Mr. Seed and friends, waje tuseme hivyo.
But that is not all, because what happened after that will leave you shocked. Bahati was forced to face the world, public shame, backlash, tears, pressure, until finally he broke the silence and confessed everything.
Kama kuna mtu najua God alimaliza mwenyewe, na najua he needs a lot of repentance, juu ya nini ama nini ndio awesikika, ni mtu kama David Wanda.
Today, we dive deep into the unspoken secrets, the accusations, the jealousy, and the broken trust, and the shocking truth behind the dramatic collapse of EMB Records. And this story is real. Buckle up because it is about to get emotional, intense, and unbelievably revealing. This was not just any business closure. This was an implosion, a spectacular fall from grace that left careers shattered.
I really made so many new friends. Kunichangamkia, kunicheer up every time na rise against Bahati, and they used even to call me and congratulate me,
Accusations of manipulation, control, and betrayal flew in every direction, and through it all, one name kept coming up again and again: Diana Bahati. They said that she controlled everything. They said that she manipulated her husband. They accused her of driving away every artist who walked through those studio doors.
Huko nje unapata watu wanaongea tu, lakini hawajui the real situation ina happen kwa ground.
But is that the whole truth, or is there something darker, something more complex lurking beneath the surface? Stay with me because what you're about to discover is going to change everything you thought you knew about the EMB Records collapse. Let me take you back to 2015. Kevin Kioko, better known as Bahati, was at the peak of his gospel music career. The boy from ABC Children's Home in Mathare slums, the one they called Mtoto wa Mama, had defied all odds. He had become one of Kenya's most celebrated gospel artists, with hits that dominated the airwaves and a fanbase that stretched across East Africa. But Bahati wanted more. He looked around at the gospel industry and saw talented artists struggling, sleeping on the streets, their potential wasted because no one would give them a chance. He remembered his own journey, the hunger, the desperation, the nights he did not know where his next meal would come from. So in 2015, Bahati made a decision that will change his life forever. He opened Islam's most beloved records. And unlike any other labels that were in it purely for profit, Bahati positioned EMB as something different, something revolutionary. This is a ministry, he declared, I want to help someone be successful so that someday they will be in a position to support themselves. And help he did. One by one, artists began walking through the EMB doors. Young, hungry, desperate for their big break. Wisdom, the first signee, someone Bahati considered not just an artist, but a brother. They lived together, they worked together, and they dreamed together. Then came Mr. Seed with his unique sound and undeniable talent.
Mama Mr. Seed has never asked me, ati nimeona hivi.
David Wanda followed, Rebecca Soki, Danny Gift, and finally Peter Blessing, a security guard who literally got on his knees in front of Bahati's car, begging for a chance to prove himself.
Mimi kwa Peter kwa Twinvoy kwa nimekuja huko kutafuta.
Bahati did not just sign contracts with these artists. He paid their rent, he bought their clothes, he fed them, he branded them, he invested his own money, time and reputation into making them stars. For a while, it worked. EMB Records became a beacon of hope in the Kenyan gospel scene. The artists were releasing music, they were performing, the label was getting attention. It looked like Bahati's vision was finally coming to life. But behind the cameras, behind the smiling Instagram posts and the collaborative songs, something was brewing. Tensions were rising, resentments were festering, and at the heart of it all was a woman who many would later claim destroyed everything Bahati had built. Now let's talk about the woman they blamed for everything. Diana Marwa, a model, a YouTuber, and eventually Mrs. Bahati. When she entered Bahati's life, she brought glamour, ambition, and a business mindset that will forever change the dynamics of EMB Records. But here is where the story gets complicated, because what happened next depends entirely on who you ask. According to Wisdom, the first artist to publicly speak out, everything changed when Diana came into the picture. In a candid interview with Mzazi Willie Mtuva, Wisdom made shocking allegations that will set social media ablaze. I respect Bahati a lot because he is the one who brought up my music career. I consider him my brother, but there were some changes which started emerging, and the changes involved someone called Diana Marwa. She made sure I exited the record. She made Bahati change on me professionally and as a brother. Think about that for a moment. A young artist given the opportunity of a lifetime, living with his mentor, working on his dreams, suddenly finding himself on the outside, looking in. Wisdom claimed that Diana Bahati was insecure about his relationship with Bahati and systematically pushed him out. But that is not all. Wisdom alleged that Diana didn't just drive him away, she changed Bahati completely. The brother he knew, the mentor who had rescued him from the streets, transformed into someone else entirely. Their professional relationship crumbled, their friendship disintegrated, and according to Wisdom, it was all because of Diana's influence. She made Bahati change on me professionally. As a brother, since I was just starting as an artist, I decided to send myself out here so that God can open my path as well, Wisdom stated. After Wisdom left, something petty and vindictive happened. Bahati deleted his songs from the EMB Records YouTube channel, songs that Wisdom had poured his heart into, that represented his breakthrough. Gone, just like that. The gospel industry watched in shock as the once tight brotherhood between Bahati and Wisdom descended into public warfare. But Wisdom wasn't the only one pointing fingers at Diana. Mr. Seed's departure was even more dramatic, even more explosive, and according to controversial gospel artist Ringtone, who claimed to be close to both parties, the real reason Mr. Seed left EMB Records had nothing to do with music or contracts. It had everything to do with a clash between two women, Diana Marwa and Mr. Seed's pregnant fiancée, Nemo Gashwiri. The incident allegedly happened during Bahati's massive December 31st concert at Thika Stadium, the same night Bahati proposed to Diana in front of thousands of fans. It should have been a night of celebration, of unity, of gospel music triumph. Instead, it became ground zero for the destruction of EMB Records. Reports claim that Nemo wanted to conduct some business at the event, but Diana Bahati, allegedly feeling threatened or disrespected, did something unthinkable. She called the police on Nemo, Bahati's own artist pregnant partner. Can you imagine the humiliation, the betrayal Mr. Sid felt? That was the final straw. Shortly afterwards, Mr. Sid announced his exit from EMB Records. After 2 successful years being signed under EMB Records, I have finally decided to go independent and be my own artist for the sole purpose of paving way for other young and coming artists, he wrote. But everyone knew the truth. It wasn't about paving the way, it was about Diana Marwa. David Wanda followed suit, leaving the label with cryptic statements. Kuna vitu mingi siezi kuongelea. There are many things that I can't really talk about. That silence spoke volumes. One by one, the artists Bahati had invested in, mentored and lifted up were walking away, and with each departure, the accusations against Diana grew louder and more damaging. The public narrative became crystal clear. Diana Bahati was controlling, manipulative, and single-handedly destroyed her husband's record label through jealousy and interference. Social media exploded with criticism. Hashtags trended. Think pieces were written. Diana became, in the eyes of many, the villain of the EMB story, but that is not the end of the tale, not even close, because what came next would make everything that happened before look like child's play. If you thought that the artist exodus was dramatic, buckle up, because in January of 2020, just months before Bahati will shut down EMB Records and entirely, the situation descended into complete chaos with arrests, court cases, and accusations that will shock the entire nation. Enters Peter Blessing. Remember him? The young man who knelt in front of Bahati's car after trying for 8 months to get a meeting, the security guard who dreamt of becoming a gospel star. Peter Blessing's story is perhaps the most tragic and controversial of all EMB disasters. According to court documents, Bahati accused Peter Blessing of obtaining 2,039,000 Kenyan shillings by false pretense. These allegations that Peter Blessing had fraudulently obtained this money by pretending he could produce music videos for EMB Records between July 2019 and January 2020, and let that sink in. The young man who had been desperate for a chance, who had literally begged on his knees for an opportunity, was now being accused of defrauding his mentor of over 2 million Kenyan shillings. On January 23rd of 2020, Peter Blessing was arrested. He spent nights at the Central Police Station, away from his family, his dreams, his future. He posted on Instagram from his cell. Can't imagine nilikuwa cell, but God, I know these are signs of my success. Mungu halali, mengi mazuri yanasubiri. It's only God who replies to the deeds the poor are going through. Fake allegations got consequences, God's favor. But Peter Blessing wasn't arrested alone. Paulo, an EMB Records producer, was arrested alongside him. According to producer Paulo, Bahati accused him of stealing studio equipment that Paulo insisted Bahati had given him when the studio was being upgraded. Paulo's lawyer described the arrest as intimidation and sabotage, claiming that Bahati was using the police to silence anyone who spoke against him or supported artists trying to leave the label. And here is where things get truly disturbing. Paulo was released, but then, in a move that seemed almost vindictive, he was arrested again just days later. His lawyer claimed it was a setup, someone called Paulo, claiming he had won an award at the Mofaka Awards and needed to pick it up. When Paulo showed up, he was arrested. Bahati and Wisdom, his former manager, were allegedly waiting at the police station with new accusations. The pattern was becoming clear. Anyone who tried to leave EMB, anyone who spoke out against Bahati, and anyone who changed the system faced consequences, legal consequences, career consequences, and personal consequences. But then, Peter Blessing's case would take the most dramatic turn of them all. When the case finally went to court, with Bahati himself taking the witness stand, the gospel star painted a picture of betrayal and ingratitude. He testified that he had paid Peter's 4,000 shillings rent, he bought him clothes, he fed him, and he gave this young man everything. with the understanding that Peter would repay him through performances and music sales once he became successful. He has been earning through performances and getting other benefits from the music we recorded for him without our knowledge. This has caused us losses because we are yet to recover our expenditure on him, Bahati told the courts. Wisdom, now working as Bahati's manager, testified that EMB had invested over 2 million shillings in Peter Blessing, hoping to recoup the investment when he became his own brand. But Peter allegedly left unceremoniously, announcing his departure on social media without any official contract termination. The case dragged on for over a year. Court appearances, testimonies, arguments. Peter Blessing's life was in limbo, his career on hold, his reputation tarnished. But then, in March of 2021, something shocking happened. Senior Principal Magistrate Bernard Ochoi acquitted Peter Blessing of all charges, but he didn't just acquit him, he went further, much further. The magistrate stated that the case between Bahati and Peter Blessing was purely civil in nature and cannot stand a criminal matter. But the most damaging part, he admonished Bahati for abusing the court process by pressing criminal charges in what should have been a civil dispute. Meanwhile, Mr. Sid and David Wanda, both former EMB signees, found themselves in a different kind of controversy with Bahati. In a television interview, Bahati dropped a bombshell. Sijawahi ongea hii kitu somewhere else, but nadai hawa vijana more than 6 million Kenyan shillings, and that is why they created a story to trend. Bahati claimed that Mr. Sid and David Wanda actually owed him over 6 million shilling, turning his entire narrative on its head. According to Bahati, these artists were not victims, they were debtors who created fake stories to go viral and distract from their financial obligations. Mr. Sid fired back on Instagram. I have achieved so much in 3 months. I give God all the glory. But my brother, I love you, and because of the love I have for you, I forgive you for everything you did to me and my family. But I wonder why you should go and lie on live national TV. The back and forth was ugly, it was public, and it was destroying reputations on all sides. By early 2020, EMB Records was in complete chaos. Artists were leaving, lawsuits were flying in, the gospel community was now divided, and through it all, Diana Bahati remained the target of public anger and blame. But here is what nobody was talking about. What was really happening inside EMB Studios? What was the actual reason of this catastrophic collapse? And was Diana Bahati really the villain everyone made her out to be? Now, on April 20th of 2020, Bahati did something that shocked the entire Kenyan entertainment industry. He sat down in front of a camera. In a raw emotional YouTube video, he made an announcement that would mark the end of an era. Today, I made one of the toughest decisions, Bahati began, his voice heavy with emotion. I am closing down EMB record label. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Island's most beloved records, the label that had been called the future of Kenyan gospel music, was dead. But this wasn't just a business announcement. This was Bahati's moment to send the record straight, to defend his wife, and to expose what he claimed was the real reason for EMB's collapse, the rotten, the jealous, fake gospel industry. But this was not just a business announcement. This was Bahati's moment to set the record straight. By closing it, it means I am officially terminating all the contracts I had written with the artist. Wisdom, Deno, and other new artists, Bahati explained. Even though nimeenda a big loss, to me, this was ministry. But what is the point of doing ministry? Well, the same ministry is being translated the wrong way always, leaving you with a bad name. Bahati revealed that he had lost over 6 million shillings of his own money on EMB Records. The label, he insisted, was never about profit. It was about helping artists, it was about giving back, and it was about the ministry. Most gospel artists have been so jealous of my success, he stated. Some felt like the artists I was signing are the ones who were making money for me. They started thinking and getting jealous, saying I was successful because of the EMB record label, forgetting that God had been blessing me and I am a child of God. He did not stop there. Bahati launched a scathing attack on the entire gospel industry, the gospel scene, an industry you would expect to see God and the real reflection of how Christ should be. The artists he had rescued, when they were washed out and being laughed at by other gospel musicians, were the same ones who turned against him. Most of these artists were already here. Some were washed out, but I brought them back. They were being laughed at by other gospel artists, but all of a sudden, Bahati has taken you, branded you, taken a new artist and branded them, and people start feeling like if Bahati takes this one, I'll instigate a fight. Bahati will go down. The pattern Bahati claimed was deliberate. Artists would join EMB, get branded, gain success, then create fake stories to trend in the media, all while destroying Bahati's reputation. Hate is not bad, Bahati said, but what is the need of receiving hate from artists who I am helping from scratch? When I started to support them, no one cared, but once they get famous, they create false stories to make them trend. Bahati described the gospel industry as filled with hatred and jealousy, with artists and gatekeepers working overtime to bring him down. And according to Bahati, the attacks on his wife were strategically designed to destroy his family and his business simultaneously. Diana became the scapegoat, the villain in a narrative crafted by jealous competitors and ungrateful artists. But Bahati stood by his wife, he defended her, and he made it clear that the closure of EMB wasn't about Diana's control or manipulation. It was about an industry that had turned toxic, an industry that punished success and rewarded betrayal. So what really caused the collapse of EMB Records? After all the accusations, all the drama, and all the court cases, what was the truth? The reality is far more complex, more than the simple narrative of Diana ruined everything. Let's start with the contracts. Multiple sources, including industry insiders and some of the artists themselves, revealed that EMB Records was signing artists to 10 years contracts. 10 years, that is virtually a slave contract in the music industry, where careers can rise and fall in a fraction of that time. These contracts allegedly gave EMB Records complete control over the artists, music performances, and earnings. The artists were essentially locked in, with Bahati and his management controlling every aspect of their careers. Now, imagine you're a young artist, you're desperate for a break, someone offers you a contract, promises to make you a star, and asks for a 10-year of your life in return. You sign because what choice do you have? But then, as you start to see some success, as you start to understand the industry better, you realize what you have signed. You realize that you're not building your own brand, you are building someone else's empire. That is what many of the EMB artists allegedly discovered, and when they tried to leave, when they tried to renegotiate, they faced consequences. The financial reality of EMB Records was also far more complicated than Bahati's ministry. Narrative suggested, yes, Bahati invested his own money, yes, he paid for rent, food and production, but the artists were expected to repay everything through their performances and music sales, all of which were controlled by EMB Records. According to critics, this created a system where artists could never truly escape their debt to Bahati. They worked, they performed, they created, but the returns went back to EMB Records to recoup investments. It was a cycle that benefited the label far more than the artist. And what about Diana's role in all of this? Here is what is rarely discussed. Diana Bahati is a businesswoman. She's a YouTuber with her own brand, her own partnerships, her own income streams, and when she looked at EMB Records, she saw a business that was hemorrhaging money, creating controversy and threatening her own brand. According to sources close to the situation, Diana Bahati did push back against Bahati continuing to sign new artists, but not because she was jealous or controlling, because she had watched artist after artist join the label, receive support, then leave and trash Bahati's name in public. Diana allegedly told Bahati, "You have literally fed these people, you have housed them, you have invested in them, and this is how they repay you, by creating stories and destroying your reputation." From Diana's perspective, she was protecting her husband and their family from ungrateful artists who took advantage of Bahati's generosity. EMB Records collapsed because of a perfect storm of factors. Restrictive contracts that artists felt trapped in, financial losses that couldn't be sustained, a toxic gospel industry filled with jealousy and competition, legitimate grievances from artists who felt mistreated, and yes, management decisions that made artists interpreted as Diana's controlling influence. It was not just Diana's fault. It was not just Bahati's fault. It was not just the artist's fault. It was a systematic failure of a system that was never sustainable from the start. Bahati wanted to help artists, but he also wanted to recoup his investments. Artists wanted support and opportunities, but they also wanted creative freedom and a fair compensation. Diana wanted to protect the family and brand, but their involvement was interpreted as interference, and the gospel industry, it watched it all unfold with a mixture of satisfaction and horror, proving Bahati's point that jealousy and competition had indeed poisoned the scene. The collapse of EMB Records wasn't just the end of a record label, it was the death of a dream, the dream that a gospel artist from the slums could build an empire that lifted others up, the dream that ministry and music could coexist with business and success, the dream that the gospel industry could be different, better, and more supportive. In the end, EMB Records became a cautionary tale about the dangers of mixing friendship with business, about the complexity of managing artists in the industry filled with competition, and about how easily reputations can be destroyed when things go wrong. Bahati moved on to secular music, eventually ditching gospel entirely, citing the same hatred and fakeness that destroyed his label. Diana continued building her brand, becoming even more successful as a YouTuber and influencer. The artists who left EMB, some found success independently, others struggled. Peter Blessing was acquitted but had to rebuild his career from scratch. And the lesson? Maybe there is no villain in this story. Maybe there are just people who made decisions, some good, some bad, all trying to survive in an industry that is as cutthroat as it is inspirational. What do you think? Was Diana Bahati really the villain everyone made her out to be, or was she protecting her family from an industry designed to destroy them? Let me know in the comments below. If this video opened your eyes to the truth behind EMB Records, smash that like button and subscribe for more untold stories from the Kenyan entertainment industry, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you never miss an upload. Until next time, stay informed, stay crucial, and remember, there are always three sides of every story: your side, their side, and the truth. Let's catch up on my next video as we get to do another deep dive into yet another heartbreaking story.